Have you ever wondered what shadows linger in the endless aisles of a Walmart? After the last customer has left, when the fluorescent lights buzz like angry insects, and the store feels like it's holding its breath. This tale comes from a woman named Emily, who reached out to share her harrowing experience as a night stalker at a Walmart in a quiet Midwestern town. She swore every word was true, and after hearing it, I couldn't shake the chill it left behind. I'll recount it here as she told it to me, in her own words, so you can feel the dread that crept into her life one shift at a time. I never thought a job at Walmart would change my life, but looking back, I should have seen the signs from the start. It was late 2023, and I was desperate for work after losing my position at a local diner due to cutbacks. The ad for overnight stalkers promised decent pay, no customers to deal with, and plenty of quiet time to listen to podcasts. Quiet time, huh? If only I'd known what that silence would bring. The store was one of those massive supercenters on the edge of town, surrounded by cornfields that stretched into the darkness like an ocean of whispering stalks. During the day, it was chaos, screaming kids, overflowing carts, the constant beep of registers. But at night, after the doors locked at 11 p.m., it transformed into something else entirely. Something watchful. My first shift started at midnight. The manager, a grizzled guy named Tom, with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and eyes that darted like he was always expecting trouble, gave me the rundown. Stock the shelves, clean up spills, don't touch the registers, and stay out of the back rooms unless you're grabbing inventory. He handed me a walkie-talkie and a flashlight, even though the light stayed on dimmed. Sometimes the power flickers, he said offhandedly. Old building. I nodded, eager to prove myself. There were 3 of us that night, me, an older woman named Rita who barely spoke, and a kid fresh out of high school named Jake, who blasted heavy metal through his earbuds while stacking boxes. The aisles were endless, row after row of canned goods, toys, electronics, all bathed in that sickly yellow glow from the overhead fluorescents. I started in the grocery section, unloading pallets of cereal and pasta. The air was cool, almost too cool, like the AC was cranked to ward off some invisible heat. At first, it was mundane. Push the cart, scan the barcode, place the item, repeat. But around 2 a.m., I heard the faint echo of footsteps. Not the heavy thud of work boots like Jake's or Rita's shuffle, but light, deliberate steps like someone browsing casually. I paused, my hand midway to a box of Frosted Flakes, and listened. The store was supposed to be empty. Tom had locked up hours ago. I chalked it up to echoes from the others and kept working. The footsteps didn't stop. They seemed to come from the next aisle over, pacing back and forth, as if whoever it was couldn't decide what to buy. I peeked around the end cap, expecting to see Jake messing around, but the aisle was empty. Just rows of soup cans staring back at me like unblinking eyes.
Road trip.
A shiver ran down my spine, but I shook it off. Get a grip, Emily, I muttered. It was my first night. Nerves were normal. As the hours dragged on, the store felt bigger, the ceilings higher, the shadows deeper in the corners where the lights didn't quite reach. By 3 a.m., Rita called it quits for her break, heading to the employee lounge in the back. Jake was somewhere in electronics, probably scrolling on his phone. I was alone in home goods when I heard a child's laughter. Soft, giggling, like a kid playing hide and seek. My blood turned to ice. There were no kids here, no one under 18 even worked the night shift. I grabbed my walkie-talkie, Hey, anyone hear that? Static crackled back, then Jake's voice. Hear what? You're trippin', newbie. Rita didn't respond. I moved toward the sound, flashlight in hand, even though the lights were on. The laughter faded as I approached the toy aisle, but something caught my eye, a Barbie doll lying on the floor. Its plastic smile twisted in the dim light. It hadn't been there before, I was sure of it. As I bent to pick it up, the footsteps started again, this time right behind me. I whipped around, heart pounding, but the aisle was empty. Just the faint scent of something metallic, like old pennies. Blood. No, that was ridiculous. I shoved the doll back on the shelf and hurried away, telling myself it was the wind or a rat or anything, but what my mind was screaming. The rest of that shift passed uneventfully, but I couldn't shake the unease. When dawn broke and Tom unlocked the doors for the morning crew, I bolted to my car without saying goodbye. At home, I crashed into bed, dreaming of endless aisles closing in like a maze I couldn't escape. The next night, I returned, convincing myself it was all in my head. Bills don't pay themselves, right? Rita wasn't there, Tom said. She called in sick, but Jake was cracking jokes about the Walmart ghosts. Everyone hears stuff, he said with a grin. Old-timers say it's the spirits of shoplifters who got caught and never left. I laughed it off, but his words stuck with me. We split up again, Jake in sporting goods, me in apparel. The footsteps returned around 1 a.m., closer this time, like they were following me. I'd turn a corner, and they'd stop, only to start again when I resumed folding shirts. Then came the whispers. At first, indistinguishable, like static on a radio. But as I strained to listen, words formed. Help. My skin crawled. I radioed Jake. You pranking me? He denied it, sounding annoyed. Dude, I'm busy over here. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the task. But in the fitting rooms, those creepy stalls with mirrors that reflect infinity, I saw something. A flicker in the reflection, a shadow that didn't match mine. Tall, hunched, with elongated limbs that stretched unnaturally. I spun around, but the room was empty. The air grew colder, my breath visible in puffs. The whispers intensified, fined. I fled the area, heart racing, and found Jake. We need to check the store, I insisted. He rolled his eyes but humored me. We swept the aisles, flashlights cutting through the gloom, but found nothing. No intruders, no open doors. Just the oppressive silence. That night, I researched the store online. Turns out, there had been incidents. A fatal shooting in the parking lot years ago. A missing child case from the 90s that was never solved. Even rumors of employees vanishing during shifts. One article mentioned a night stalker who quit after claiming to see figures in the security mirrors. Coincidence? Maybe, but it fueled my paranoia. Shift 3 was when things escalated. Tom was off, so it was just Jake and me. The power flickered early, around midnight, plunging sections into darkness before humming back to life. Told you it's old, Jake said, but his voice wavered. We stuck together at first, stalking the pharmacy aisle. That's when we heard the cart. The unmistakable rattle of wheels on linoleum, rolling slowly down a parallel row. We froze. Hello, Jake called. No answer, but the cart stopped. Then started again, closer. We rounded the corner, and there it was, an empty shopping cart, abandoned in the middle of the aisle, as if someone had just let go, but no one was there. Jake laughed nervously. Wind. Nah, no windows open. As we stared, a can of soup tumbled from a shelf nearby, rolling toward us like it was pushed. Then another, and another. Shelves vibrated, items shifting as if invisible hands were rearranging them. "What the hell?" Jake whispered. We backed away, but the footsteps pursued us, multiplying now, like a crowd was gathering. Whispers overlapped. Help, find, lost. I grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to get to the lounge." We ran, the sounds chasing us through housewares, past the eerie mannequins in clothing that seemed to turn their heads as we passed. In the lounge, we barricaded the door with a vending machine, panting. "This ain't right," Jake said, pale as a ghost.
"I'm calling Tom."
Tom arrived an hour later, grumpy and disbelieving. "You kids watching too many horror flicks." He checked the cameras, nothing. No carts moving on their own, no shadows. "Glitches," he muttered. But I saw the fear in his eyes. He knew something. I should have quit then, but stubbornness or denial kept me going. The following nights blurred into a nightmare routine. The phenomena grew bolder. Lights in distant aisles would turn on and off, spelling out patterns if you watched long enough. Once, in electronics, TVs flickered to life, showing static interspersed with grainy footage of the store itself. Empty but for a figure lurking in the background. Jake started calling out sick more often, leaving me alone with Rita when she returned. She was quieter than ever, her eyes hollow, as if she'd seen this all before. One night, around 4 a.m., the whispers clarified into a name. "Emily, help me. My name." How did it know my name? I was in the garden center, surrounded by plastic plants that rustled without wind. The temperature dropped sharply, frost forming on the windows despite it being summer. Then, a hand cold, clammy brushed my shoulder. I screamed, swinging my flashlight. It connected with nothing, but the touch lingered, burning like dry ice. I confronted Tom the next morning. "What's really going on here?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Look, kid, every store has stories. This one. There was an accident years ago. A girl got lost in the store after hours. Search parties? Nothing. They say her body's still here somewhere, walled up in the renovations." He shrugged. "Superstition. But if it bothers you, quit." I didn't quit. Instead, I became obsessed. During breaks, I'd explore the restricted areas, the storage rooms, stacked with forgotten merchandise, the basement utility access that smelled of mold and decay. Down there, the air was thick, oppressive, and the whispers were loudest. Find me. Under what? The climax came on a stormy night, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. Jake had quit for good, Rita too. It was just me and the store. The power outage hit at 2 a.m., total blackout. My flashlight beam cut through the ink-black darkness, revealing glimpses of aisles that seemed longer, twisted. Footsteps echoed everywhere, a symphony of pursuit. I headed for the emergency exit, but the doors wouldn't budge, locked from the outside. Impossible. Then, the laughter returned childlike, but distorted, echoing from the toy aisle. I followed it, drawn against my will. There, under a pile of toppled, stuffed animals, was a trapdoor I'd never noticed. Heart hammering, I pried it open. Stairs led down to a sub-basement, forgotten, filled with old fixtures and dust-covered boxes. The air was foul, like rot. At the bottom, my light fell on something horrific, skeletal remains, small, child-sized, clutched around a faded Walmart vest. The whispers stopped, replaced by a sigh, almost relieved. But as I turned to flee, the trapdoor slammed shut above me. Darkness enveloped me, and I felt hands, many hands, pulling me down. Stay with us. I don't remember how I escaped. Tom found me the next morning, babbling in the parking lot, covered in dust. The police investigated, but the trapdoor. Gone. No remains, no sub-basement. They called it a hallucination from exhaustion. But I know the truth. That store isn't just haunted, it's alive, feeding on the lost. And the twist, the girl's name, etched on the vest I glimpsed, Emily. My name. Was it me all along? A premonition? Or something pulling me into its web? I quit moved towns, but sometimes in quiet stores, I hear the footsteps, and I wonder who's next.